Now is a great time to be asking questions, any concerns, things that gone well, things gone poorly. Shoot them at us. So I got one question here where Michael's asking, what do you think about giving your hottest prospects something like a pie? So it's the holiday season, and now's the time to be thinking about those kind of things. As far as prospects go, I'm not a big fan of giving prospects gifts because it feels odd to them. I'm a big fan now if you want to give them gifts right after the event. Giving people pies is a nice way to give gifts to prospects right after the event. And a lot of guys have done that very successfully, where they've hired a high schooler or a retired person to go around and give people pies, especially the people who've made appointments right after the event, to solidify them showing up for the appointment. But as far as giving gifts during the holiday season to prospects, it just feels odd to them, so I wouldn't recommend it. Now, on the other hand, if you're having holiday parties or if you're doing the Christmas lights tours that we've been recommending, then that's a great thing to invite prospects to, because a party or something like that doesn't feel like it's weird. It feels like you're just inviting them to a good time. So that I would highly encourage, if you're doing a Christmas lights tour for your clients, to invite hot prospects to that. And besides that, they'll be sitting next to your happy clients, so that's a great way to get them to hear how good an advisor you are. So hopefully that answers that question. And we seem to have do we have another one here? Oh no, that's the same question repeated. So that's the answer to that question. And then that brings up something. Guys, here's a pet peeve of mine with Christmas cards. If you do Christmas cards, do them the right way or don't do them at all. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. When my bank sends me a Christmas card that's pre-printed with the message and the names of the people, and then they just sign those cards, do you think that makes me happy, or do you think that pisses me off? When they send me a Christmas card with everything pre-printed on there and their names, and they just sign it, do you think that makes me happy, or do you think that makes me disgusted and angry? Yeah, why Eric? Why? Eric and Al, you're right. It pisses me off. Why? It's not personal. Do they even know who they're sending the card to, or did somebody hand them 500 cards and they just went through and signed all of them? So here, the thing is, guys, if the bank hadn't even sent me a Christmas card, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. I wouldn't have thought, I mean, out of sight, out of mind, right? So if they hadn't even sent me a Christmas card, I wouldn't even thought about it. So but now they send it to me and basically say, hey, I don't even know who you are, care who you are, and if I do know or care who you are, I'm certainly not going to care enough to write you a little note in there. So if you're going to send a Christmas card, make sure you write, I don't care if it's just, hey, hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas, boom. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but don't just send out cards. Well, I don't care, Ed says send out Thanksgiving. I don't care what kind of friggin' card you send out. Do not send out a card unless you're going to write a personal message in it. Do not send out a card with a signature, or God forbid, a card with a pre-printed signature. Don't do it. It just says, hey, I could care less about you, and I'm just doing this to, I don't know why the heck you're doing it. So don't do that. When you send out cards, they have to have handwritten notes in it. So, says when somebody says, just comment, I use Marketing Library Pro for this. Looks like a personal message. What do you think about that? I don't know. I've never looked at Library Pro, but if you're not writing something, if it sounds like you're actually writing to them directly, then hallelujah, I'm all for it. But don't just send out something with a signature on it. Okay? So,
you see, Mike, one more. How about family picture Christmas cards? Casey asks.
I love them as long as you, again, write a little note on there. Doesn't need to be a book. I mean, I love family Christmas cards. It shows them that you're human. But make sure you write a note on there. Glenn. I realize it's Marketing Library Pro is a Peter Montoya system, so I'm not sure what it looks like. But if you receive that card, so Glenn's asking, what about these the Marketing Library Pro system from Peter Montoya? and that it appears to be a personal note. Yeah, if you think that if you got that, whatever they're sending out, if you think that you got that and you assume that the guy actually was writing it to you and you only, then it's perfect. That's exactly what you should be doing. That's exactly what you should be doing. But don't send out something that looks very, very impersonal, because you're better off doing nothing than that, because at least then they're not, you're not rubbing it in their face that you don't really care about them. So, everybody, any other questions to that? So great feedback, great input. Super. So then the pointer I have today is what's happened to several high-profile companies in the industry here in the last 3 months. Illiquid private placements. A lot of guys in the last couple of years have loved illiquid private placements. Any idea why they loved illiquid private placements, guys? Because they were such a great deal. Yes, Glenn, commissions. And it's killing BDs and advisor practices. Dozens have gone under because the FINRA has finally caught up with them and going after them. An example of that is the way Financial Network goes from star to kaput. He's been in Barron's top 100 advisors for the last 3 years. He's now out of business. Why? Because almost all of his business was going to private placements, which ended up being, and I've talked about here the last 3 or 4 months, when it comes to REITs, because that's what he was selling was REITs, private placement REITs, are all of those dividends actual dividends? No, they're dividends and what? Return of principal. And that wasn't disclosed to the clients in a manner that they understood that. There's lots of problems with private placement REITs. And this guy was doing it just for the commissions. And it came to bite him. He was making $8 to $10 million in annual fees, and he's now out of business. And another point here, just because you're in Barron's top 100 advisors, does Barron's really know what that guy's doing for his clients? No. So running into advisors that are ranked in the top 100, that means nothing. So don't be ever, if you run into them, don't ever be feel challenged by them that, oh, I can't go after them, they're one of the top advisors. No, because when they're ranked by Barron's or U.S. News and World Reports or wherever as being one of the top advisors, that has nothing to do with what they're actually doing for their clients. So this guy was ranked as the top advisor. Was he doing the right thing by his clients? Apparently not, since he had ended up having tons of complaints and being kicked out of business by FINRA. So what's my point here? How can you use this? Well, number one, don't ever be sucked into something that has high commission and long surrender charges for a client. That's number one thing we can use. The second thing is go back to your warm prospects and anybody that was that you couldn't move forward with because they had private placements. Now is a great time to be going back and picking those people up as clients. Okay? So what we want to talk about today is marketing. And the marketing I want to talk about today is not big humongous marketing plans. These are little tiny marketing plans that cost very, very little but can be very, very productive for you. And so as we go into the next year, I want you to be thinking about marketing. You should have your marketing plan in place before you hit the ground running on January 1st. So now's a good time to be talking about that. So you see here, marketing, be everywhere. And what I mean by that, and I always use one of my long-term coaching clients as an example. He always says, Mike, your marketing is okay. Just okay, it's not terrific. And then I look and see how much business he's writing, and I always scratch my head when he says that. And he still says it today. But then and I say, well, then why are you writing so business? He goes, well, because I'm doing 3 or 4 of your marketing systems, and put together, I've got people coming into my office all the time. So he says, I was just kidding you, and I said it's okay, because actually together, they're fantastic, because I see a ton of people all the time. I've always got new people coming, and I don't even know where they're coming from. It's like a marching in the door with new clients. So the point he was making is you don't have to be great in any type of marketing, as long as you're doing several different things. So what I want to show you today is things that you could do with very, very low cost. Some of these have been used inside of our industry. Some of these I've borrowed from outside the industry, but all of them have had success both inside and outside of the industry. And again, I don't want you to do all of these things, but I want you to be thinking and try to figure out where you can integrate 3 or 4 of them into your process. So in 2013, events are always still going to be the way to get in the front of the most people in the quickest manner possible. And the people who are looking to make the most money next year, that's what you've always got to be thinking about as an event. So we have the Social Security event. We have the Take Your Brain for a Jog, and we also have a new event that's really straight to the point that Jeff came up with, and I like it a lot. It's a little bit based on the disclosure meeting. So it's really in the clients, directly to the clients and what they were missing out on and what they need to be doing. So we'll be rolling that out in January. And then you have the trip, which you can use for your current clients and you'll be able to use for your prospects. So that's coming out. But then I also want you to be thinking about these little filler things that really don't cost a lot of money, but can really enhance the amount of money you make and the amount of people that you see. And you'll actually get in front of people you would not normally see when you use some of these smaller things. So the smaller things are epidemic marketing. If you're not using epidemic marketing yet, you got to start using that, because I'm already getting a lot of feedback from guys who have brought in clients that they hadn't seen for years, and they called up and said they had money coming in. Prospects, same way. So the epidemic marketing is something that you really need to be doing, and there's no doubt about that. That's one thing that I don't think you really have a choice on. You need to really be pushing that epidemic marketing. It's very inexpensive and it's highly effective. So this is just an example of what I've seen with an average guy. Not the first year, but by the second or third year, getting in front of an additional 18 people, closing 12 of those. And I've seen actually guys have a 100% closing ratio with the people that get in from epidemic marketing. Because if you think about it, when you get somebody from an event, you're chasing them. But when somebody calls you up because you sent them out a newsletter or an email, you're not calling them, they're calling up you. So the momentum is in your direction. So I would highly encourage you getting started on this epidemic marketing. This is the only one I would say. The rest of these down here, pick and choose what you want to do. But this one I think everybody should be doing. And getting, not the first year, but by the second year. Getting the first year, you probably get 2 or 3 clients. But at the second year, you could be looking at 12 clients a year or more from the epidemic marketing. And we'll get into these a little bit more in detail here in a second, but I just want to walk through them. The 5Q Special Forces is actually a client advisory board that I put together that actually centers around the 5Q elevator statement. And it's actually skewed directly towards getting people to refer to you, and I'll explain that here in a second. But you could be looking at 25 referrals, I mean, there's 60 referrals closing, and I don't know how many of those referrals you'll close, but I would guesstimate 25 of those would be very, very possible. Because if you're getting your best clients to refer 60 people to you, do you think that 25 is out of the question? And I'll explain to you how we get these 60 referrals here in a second. The Guinness system, I think, is a fantastic system. It was actually used by the Guinness Book World Record holder for the world's best salesperson. I'll explain that here in a second. Digital system, which is getting you listed in all of the online directories. Toast of the Town is talking about Toastmasters and Chamber of Commerce. The Golden System, this is another system I'd highly recommend that you implement here in the next year, and I'll explain that here in a second. Be a Star. Halo. Halo is for, or Be a Star is filming yourself on videos and getting that on YouTube. Halo is if you have an active faith-based life, then Halo is a way to how to leverage that faith-based life with to find clients just like you. Oops, got to go back up here. The bumper system, I'll explain that here in a second. I'm not going to give you anything on that yet. And the handwritten referral is kind of what we've been talking about. And I'll get way more into that, but that's the handwritten notes. And right now it's the Christmas season. That'd be an appropriate time to be doing that. And then the referral piggyback system, that's simply using having a 5Q elevator statement and putting that on everything, putting it on your signature for your email, putting it on your on your business cards, putting it on your letterhead, putting it everywhere. If you did that, I've had guys personally that have gotten or brought on 49 new clients just using the 5Q elevator statement. So that's a huge one and costs nothing. It's just doing things that you already do and just piggybacking your 5Q elevator statement on that. So let's talk a little bit about each of these. The epidemic marketing, you have your client newsletter, the one that's sent out by snail mail. You have the client's IQ newsletter, which is sent out via email. And these are 2 different newsletters, guys. So a lot of guys will say, can I just send out your client newsletter via email? No. Send it out via mail. Why? More and more they're finding that mail is far more effective than email. Why do you think mail is far more effective than email? Because it used to be the other way around, that mail was crap and people would just throw it in the garbage can. But now email is considered to be crap and mail is considered to be golden. Why is that, guys? Yes, done rarely, Fred. You're exactly right. They're finding because so few people are doing it, it's very important. And if you think about people who are retired, my dad, guess what my dad's day centers around? Want to guess what my dad's day centers around? Al says it's more personal. I agree with that too. What people are retired. Now, when I get home, I've had a busy day. I don't want to even look at any mail that's not appropriate. I mean, my wife takes care of that. I don't even look at any mail unless it's something that's addressed to me. But you're right. Now everybody's saying mail, mail, mail. Right. But when you retire, you got a whole day to fill. So my dad waits for that mail to come. So you got to do this via snail mail. And then that's where you're also going to insert your personal organization kit, your newsletter, that little gift, the little gift that we have through the POC system. You know, a checklist or a top 10 or whatever that you can give them as a little gift in that newsletter. So that's where you're going to insert that. So that's something you absolutely have to do. And that's where a lot of guys have been seeing, and this is, I would tell you guys, this is where you're going to see most of your referrals come, or your new clients come from, is this newsletter. The Clients IQ newsletter is a nice little way to drip on them as well. It's a lot different than this newsletter. It's actually 3 little tidbits. It's kind of fun and costs you nothing to send that out, right? So I would highly recommend, if you're not doing that, to get that out as well. And these are not the same newsletter. So now you're touched them twice in 1 month. And then we have the email, which is a little email I write with fun fact that's easily forwardable, because people will forward emails. So that's what it's designed to do, is have them forwarded to friends, neighbors, relatives. Now you've touched them 3 times in a month. Is that too often, guys? Is touching them 3 times too often? And here's the funny, no, exactly, Eric, it's not. When CEG Worldwide did a study on clients, the ones that were loyal, the ones that were giving people, their advisors new money all the time and referring an average of 12 people, or 11.3 people per year, guess how many times they were touched by their advisor? So the clients that were considered loyal, the top of the clients, the loyal clients who would never leave their advisor and were referring an average of 11.3 people per month, I'm sorry, per month, I wish. No, per year. Guess how many times they were touched by their advisor? 24.1 times. 24.1 times, so that's about 2 times a month. And then when they say touched, it was non-financial touches. Nothing to do with finances. So why do you think it's so important that these, and that's how all of these are written. Client newsletter is written about non-financial. It's on the, don't get me wrong, it's on the edges of finance, but it's not about their money. It's not about investments. It's on the edges of that. The Client IQ newsletter has one little tidbit about money, and then one on health, and one on a more fun type of contact. And then the email is again on the side there. Eric says Joe likes weekly emails. I hate weekly emails. Why do you think I hate weekly emails, guys? How many of you like to get weekly emails? Unless you're giving me something of value, no, I would recommend not doing that. You notice, look at what we got here. We've got, one is a snail mail newsletter, one is a email newsletter, and then one's a little email, no more than a paragraph. So if you ask my opinion, weekly is too much, but this is every other week for email, and once with snail mail. That's what I would prefer to see. So these are all about non-financial things. Why non-financial? Guys, if you go out on a date with a gal and the only thing you talk about is sex, what does she know the only thing you're worried about is? Sex. Here, these non-financial, we care about them as clients. I'm sorry, as people, as human beings. We care about them. So we're showing that we care. And that's why when the CEG Worldwide, when they did their research, they found that the loyal clients were touched 24 times a year about non-financial things. That's what we're doing here. Non-financial things shows you care about them as human beings, not always about their money. Now, the average advisor touches a client how many times? Once, maybe 4 times a year. Maybe 4 times a year. More likely once a year. And guess what the touches are always about? Anytime those advisors are talking to the clients, what is it about? What's it about, guys? Yeah, money, 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 money. So the only reason they're talking to their clients is about the money. So what do the clients know about them? The only reason the advisor is talking to them is about money. That's because the only reason the advisor cares about them is because they have money. But when we touch them, it's about the non-financial things, and that's why it works, okay? Then we have a couple other things here. We have letter to the editor, and we have the small business newsletter. Those are all things that the letter to the editor and the business newsletter, do them if you want, but I think these 3 things are essential to do. The client newsletter, Clients IQ, and email, I think those are essential to do. Letter to the editor, business newsletter, I like them, but not as essential as the other ones. Then we have 5Q Special Forces. 5Q Special Forces is the client advisory board, but I've actually taken the client advisory board and put it on steroids because I have an emphasis on coming up with the 5Q elevator statement. So what we've done in the client advisory board is I've now shown you how to get you in front of your clients, your handful of your best clients, and then have them help you develop your own 5Q elevator statement. And remember, the 5 steps of the 5Q elevator statement is number 1, is it something only you claim? Number 2, does it address fear, frustration, or greed? Number 3, is it very, very, very specific? Number 4, is it only 1 sentence long? And then number 5, remember, is test it out on 5 people. I'm sorry, on 10 people. And if 5 of them say, how do you do that, then you know it works. So guess what you're going to do with the client advisory board in your last meeting? You're going to have them go out and test it on 10 of their friends. You're going to have them go out and test it on 10 of their friends. And they're going to know this from the first meeting that that's the 5th step. So it's not going to be a surprise to them by the time they develop the 5Q statement that they're going to take that out to their friends and test it on their friends. So that's how you're going to get those 20 referrals. If you do this 3 times a year, you'd end up with 60, them talking or trying to refer 60 people to you. Obviously, not all 60 are going to come to work with you. But if they give a 5Q elevator statement to 60 people, and it's an effective elevator statement, of those 60, how many are going to, and if it's your client giving it to them, how many of those 60 will come on? I would say at least a third of those. That's 20 people per year. Okay, so, and these are all things that we'll have available for you, and I'll tell you how to get them here at the end. So if you come across something and you say, man, I want to try that, jot it down, and I'll tell you how to get these here at the end of the call. So remember the 5 things, something only you claim, addresses fear, frustration, greed, very, very specific, short, and memorable. And do 50% of the people respond, how do you do that? That's how this works, is that the last, when you finally get your 5Q elevator statement, you're going to send out those people in the client advisory board to go out and ask 10 people each to measure, do 50% of the people say, how do you do that? Okay? So this is actually specifically designed to get referrals. I would highly recommend that you consider doing these this year in 2013 if you have clients or a client book of business. The Guinness system. Joe Girard was a car salesman, and he was awarded the Guinness Book of World Records world record salesperson. He was making $1 million a year selling cars. So he was making about $300,000, but with if you take inflation into account, he was making $1 million a year in today's dollars selling cars. And he did not sell fleet cars. He sold them belly to belly. It was always one at a time. And this guy was a monster. And if you ever want to be motivated to increase your game, read his book on how he became that salesperson. And he came from the worst possible situation to one of the world's top salespeople very, very quickly in like 3 or 4 years. And what he did it with is the vast majority of what he did with was business cards. This guy went through a box of business cards every single month. And he gave them away everywhere. And that's how he got business after business after business with his business card. And if you think about it, he gave away a box of business cards, so he gave away about 1,000 business cards per month. Now, how many of you give away 1,000 business cards in your career? So this system is based on what he did with those business cards. And again, I won't go into exactly how he did it, but we'll give you the system here at the end, or how you can get that system. This guy was a monster, and he spent almost his entire marketing was based on giving away business cards in all sorts of different ways and manners. But this guy went from doing nothing to selling, making almost $1 million a year, belly to belly, selling cars within about 3 or 4 years. So incredible story. If you ever want to be motivated in the sales game, this is the guy or the book to read. And if you just Google Joe Girard, world's greatest salesperson, he's got a website and sells his books and all that kind of stuff. But the one where he talks about his story is just incredibly unbelievable. And he did it all, or mostly with business cards. Digital system. Getting listed on online directories. So when people in your area are looking for financial advice, you want to be showing up on that map, on that Google map. It shows where all of the different advisors are that they're looking for. Also, you want to be moved up on the organic search so they can find you very easily that way. The best way to do that is get listed on online directories as it applies to financial advice. So there's a system that will show you how to do this, and you can do it either for free or you can pay, if you want to do it and make it work faster for you, you can pay a nominal fees to some of these directories to get you on there. And what this does is Google looks at these directories at a very, very high level, so does Yahoo, and it moves you up very, very quickly if you're on these online directories, and it works in a regional manner. So it's not, if I'm in Minnesota and somebody's searching in New York, it's not going to help me. But if I'm in Minnesota and somebody's Rochester, Minnesota, and somebody's searching Rochester, Minnesota, it's going to help me a lot, because these online directories will look at, oh, somebody's looking for financial advice. They're in Rochester, Minnesota. Oh, I should shoot them right at Mike, and it's going to move me right up to the top. It's going to show me up on the have me show up on Google Maps as well. You know, where they will show that at the right-hand corner of the search page. So this is again, you can do this for free. And the most powerful system out there is free, but it takes a while to use. And there's other systems out there that you can pay to get into, and it's not a huge fee, but it'll move you up a lot faster. So this is something you should be considering too, especially if you want to be found online. I'm the toast of the town. So using Toastmasters and the Chamber of Commerce is an excellent way for you to get in front of high net worth people, the movers and shakers in your community, if you do it right. And I put together a little system on how to do it right. It's a very inexpensive way for you to be rubbing elbows with the guys in town who could refer you to the guys with the most money in town. If they don't have the most money, they're going to refer you to that. So it's a way to make a name very, very quickly for yourself. And it costs very little to do it. It just takes a little elbow grease. And so I put together a system on exactly how to do that as well. The pot of gold system. This is the system I would highly recommend you do. And what it is I'll spend a little bit of time talking about it, because I think this is something, one of the ones besides epidemic marketing, that I would highly recommend that you do. It's to get referrals from attorneys and accountants. And we've all been trying to get that holy grail forever, right? Those attorney accountant referrals. So how can you do it? Well, first of all, I've been preaching this for forever and ever and ever for the last 8 years, that when you get a client, when you get a new client, what should you do the very next day? When you get a new client, what should you do the very next day? Let's see if I can get some answers on this. Write their attorney and accountant. Exactly right, Eric. Write their attorney and accountant. I actually have a letter for you to send out to them. It's basically stroking the attorney accountant, telling them that you've looked at, that you're now sharing the same client, that, boy, you've looked at what they've done. It's fantastic. You want to assure them that you're backing everything that they said to do, and blah, blah, blah. So it's a stroking type thing. And it's a way for you to get your name in front of them. Then, I've had some years where I brought on maybe 15 clients from the same accountant. If they get 15 of those letters in the same year, guess what starts to go through their mind? But we're going to take this system one step further. And there was a gentleman, he actually won the top marketing system of the year, I think, for Registered Rep Magazine or whatever in 2012. And here's what he did. He basically formed a case study group. He called attorneys and accountants and said, hey, I'd like to put together this case study group where one of us puts forward a case. Then we all get together for an hour or two over lunch, maybe a box lunch at my office or whatever, and we discuss how we would deal with this client. What kind of ideas would we have? What's the advantages and disadvantages of the different things that we could do? What kind of unusual strategies could we use to put this person in a better position? And he started this group, and now he has, I think, 2 groups going, and he's got like 19 attorneys and accountants now going to these groups. And it's just once a quarter, so it's not a high, it doesn't require a lot of work. So he's having these groups once a quarter. And then what he did last year, I think he brought on 4 clients, and one of them was a $2 million life insurance case. Another one was an $800,000 life insurance case, a couple of new investment clients. So highly effective, because he'd never gotten a referral in his life before from an accountant or attorney, and in 1 year he got 4. And these are the best clients that he got that year. Those clients made his whole year. They were 80% of his production. So what I did is I actually systematized what he was doing, because he just said it in a little brief story what he was doing. I actually systematized what he's doing and put it into an actual system that you can use. I would highly recommend that you use this system going forward. Make sure you're sending out letters to all your clients, attorneys and CPAs, and then integrate it with this case study group system in 2013. It's a way you're not going to get a lot of clients from it, but you're going to get huge clients from it. So it's highly worthwhile, and it doesn't require a lot of time and effort. And really, it's the only way that I can see you ever getting a referral from an accountant or an attorney. because that's, I mean, and that's the holy grail we're all after. Because we're just referring your clients to accountants and attorneys, that's not going to work. This is the only thing that's been proven, and this guy has proved that it works. This is the only way I've seen it's proven to work with, get CPAs and attorneys to work with you. Okay? Be a movie star. I don't know if you know this, but YouTube is the second highest search vehicle on the internet. Google is number 1, YouTube is number 2. So if you have things to say, and you have an iPhone or an Android phone to take your movies, or if you have a little flip camera to take a movie, say them and put them up. Again, if you connect this with the online directory thing that we talked about earlier, you can really become organically searched very, very quickly for your local area. So if you don't mind, if you've got things to say them, put them on movies, and put them on, post them on YouTube. It works very, very well for getting people to know you and getting people to call you in your local area, especially when you combine it with the digital system we talked about earlier for online directories. And again, I have a little system on how to do that. The Halo system is, if you are active in your faith-based community, this is a system you can use to really leverage that, to find a lot of people who are looking for people just like you. Because people in the faith-based community would love to work with advisors who are just like them, who have the same values that they have. But a lot of advisors don't know how to appropriately broach that topic. And this system walks you through exactly how to do that, and both with radio, working within your actual congregation, working with the way that the congregation advertises. It's a great way. If this is a major part of your lifestyle and you like to meet people just like you, they're looking for people just like them. So it's a great way to do that. And again, I'll tell you how to get that system here in a second. The bumper sticker system. You'd think this is odd, and nobody's used it in our industry, but I will tell you that when I was researching this, I found lots of guys who had huge success with bumper stickers in marketing. And the best thing is guess how much it costs to do this? $5. $5 to come up with your bumper sticker. And if it's using your 5Q elevator statement, you are going to get calls all year long on that. So I've got for $5, if you're willing to put this bumper sticker on your car, I tell you what, for $5, it's probably the most efficient way for you to advertise. And I go through how to do it, why that makes sense, and why it works in the little system that I put together on bumper stickers. I know it sounds silly, but I tell you what, for $5, it's an unbelievable way to advertise. And the bumper sticker itself would not be silly. The bumper sticker itself is very serious, but well, I explain it all in the system and why it works, and it has worked for people who are in vocations just like ourselves. I mean, it's worked for attorneys, it's worked for CPA, so it has worked for other people. Just nobody I know in this industry, but if it works for a CPA or an attorney, it can work for us as well. So I think this is a fantastic way to advertise, and I would absolutely be doing it if I was seeing clients. And then here's the thing that we're talking about earlier. Guys, I used to write 200 handwritten notes every single month. 200 handwritten notes every single month. When I was making almost $1 million a year, I was writing 200 handwritten notes every single month. And that was actually before I ended up inventing some technology that you could actually do it via, have it printed to look like handwritten notes. But this was before that technology. So I actually sat down. It was every Thursday night after Michelle went to bed. I would grab 50 notes, and I'd spend about an hour writing those notes, watching Letterman. And so 50 notes every single week, 200 a month. Now, what did I write those notes on? Well, some were thank you notes. So, if it was a holiday, it would be holiday. Like right now, it would be Christmas notes. If it was, so if you think about it, you got Christmas, Easter, 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day. So you have lots of holidays in there. I wrote a lot of thank you notes. I wrote a lot of, if I had an idea or found an article, I'd write a bunch of notes with that article attached and put inside there. Handwritten notes have huge effects on people, because how many handwritten notes do they get in a year? Many people don't receive any. At most, maybe one, or at most two, at very most two. So when they get this handwritten note, it says a lot about you that you're willing to take the time and effort necessary to sit down and write them a note. You're actually thinking about them while you're writing the note. This has unbelievable leverage when it comes to showing how much you care about them. And guys, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And as we talked about earlier, the loyal clients are looking for people who care about them. So I would highly recommend that you do this. And we have technology now. You can do this without even going through the labor-intensive manner that I had to go through, because we've talked about this Quantum Enterprises over in England, the software that you can order. It puts into your handwriting into a font that can't be told the difference between whether you handwrote it or not. So you have the advantage of technology to do this. So there's zero excuse not to be writing these notes. And again, I have a handwritten note system. In that system, I give you all sorts of, I think I gave you over 21 different things you could write them notes about. But if you're not doing this, you're just missing the ball. And if everybody I talk to, guess how they say they want to get clients? With referrals. Well, if you're not doing this, you're not going to get referrals, period. Because you're not showing them that you like them. You're not top of mind. You're not guys, handwritten notes builds up all sorts of obligation on your client's part. Because like, how can I pay this back? This is better than a gift. Handwritten notes are better than giving them gifts. Because they're so special and they actually have so much leverage when it comes to showing how much you care. So there's no excuse not to be sending out handwritten notes nowadays. And the last thing is, the last system, again, is piggyback the 5Q elevator statement on everything. So when you have a 5Q elevator statement, and we give you those 5 when you come on board, prepared for you. If you want to do your own, you can do your own. But simply make sure you have your 5Q elevator statement on your business cards, on your letterhead, on your email signature, everywhere. Your 5Q elevator statement should be everywhere, and it should also be on the tip of your tongue anytime somebody asks what you do. So all of these things I've covered today, I've created little mini marketing system guides that you can get if you just write email support at 5q.com or 5q, I don't know what it is, at 5q group.com. So yeah, go ahead, Missy.
It's support at 5qgroup.com.
So we have individual little marketing systems for all of these things I've talked about today. So if you send support at 5qgroup.com a little note saying I'd like to get this one and this one and this one, we'll get those emailed out to you. So you have those to utilize in 2013. These are all very inexpensive. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think we'll probably plan to post the systems on our website as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good.
Yep.
So when would they look for something like that?
By about midweek, I'll have them all up there, and they will be in the marketing section and referred to as the 5QES systems, 5QES elevator speech systems.
Super. Okay, so I mean, the couple of thoughts I want to leave you with is a person's actions will tell you everything you need to know. So many, Jeff and I take so many calls from people who are struggling. And I tell you what, if I ever want to get somebody to leave the system voluntarily, here's what I'll ask them when they call me and they're struggling. I'll say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you fax me your last week's calendar? And I'll never hear from them again. Why is that the case, guy? When I ask them to fax me their last week's calendar, they never call me again. Why is that, guys? Let's see if we can get some answers there. Why would they not? Why would they leave? Not seeing enough people, Eric says. So no activity, no appointment. Okay, everybody's getting it. There's nothing on it. But when I ask them, are they doing any of these little marketing things that I give them? Guess what they tell me they don't have enough of? Time. So they tell me they don't have enough time, but when I look at their calendar, it shows what are they doing all last week. They saw 3 people. A person's actions will tell you everything you need to know. And I would tell you the best example I can ever give is there's a guy here in Rochester, Minnesota. He was 26 years old, didn't have a single client, started with Edward D. Jones, and he went out with the Edward D. Jones newsletter, and he started knocking on doors. He went door to door handing out the Edward D. Jones newsletter with his contact information on there. I laughed my butt off at this guy. What an idiot doing door-to-door sales for financial planning. How ridiculous. 3 years later, he was making $250,000, and he grew that business by door-to-door marketing. Now, am I recommending you do door-to-door marketing? No. What I'm recommending is you either quit whining about marketing or do the things I'm talking about today or go door-to-door, but quit whining. Did this guy whine that he didn't have anybody to see? No, he didn't have anybody to see, so he went out and saw people. When you looked at his calendar, he was seeing, geez, probably about 40 people a day. And he grew his business $250,000 for 26 years old with no marketing costs whatsoever except handing out newsletters. So don't tell me you don't have enough people to see. Quit whining and see people. If you don't have a way to see people, call me up. I'll give you a dozen ways to see people that cost you nothing. But when I give people that information, guess what they tell me? I can't do that. It's too hard. Or whine. A person's actions would tell you everything you need to know. If you want to get in front of people, if I said, if you don't get in front of 40 people a day or I will shoot you in the kneecap, what would you all be able to do? Magically. Guys, if you want to get in front of people, get in front of people. Here's some quotes for success that I'll leave you with by Warren Buffett on earning. Never depend on a single income. Make investment to create a second source. So what am I talking about here today, guys? Should you just rely on one marketing resource, or should you be developing as many as possible, like that client or that advisor client that I told you about earlier, who says, Mike, all of your stuff works average or okay, but by combining 3 or 4 of them, I'm seeing people all the time. Diversify your marketing on spending. If you buy things you don't need, soon you'll have to sell things you do need. Think about that as it applies to your business. On saving, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. On taking risk, never test the depth of the river that both beat. Here's a great example of why you should market with 3 or 4 different things. You don't know what's going to work this month, so don't hang your hat on just one thing, because one thing will work this month and the next thing will work the next month. On investment, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Again, see how all these things are kind of revolving around what I'm talking about today, having multiple sources of marketing? And on expectations, honesty is a very expensive gift. Do not expect it from cheap people. Guys, when you tell me you don't have enough time, then you better what? When I look at a calendar, you tell me you don't have enough time, what should your calendar look like? And I think Jeff puts this. Jeff, what do you talk about? Jeff, are you on the call right now? Let's see if you can get unmuted here.
He's muted. Hold on. Jeff, are you
Okay.
coming on?
Maybe
He's
not.
having a hard time with his microphone. Let me see if I can.
Well, I'll kind of paraphrase what he talks about. Basically saying that when he talks to people about not getting in front of people, he says, well, either, number one, see, there's 2 things you need for marketing. You don't need both of them. You need one of them. You need time or you need money. So if you're rolling in money, that means you don't have enough what, guys? If you're rolling in money, it means you don't have enough what? Don't have enough time. So then there's lots of different things that you can spend money on. If you don't have enough time to market, there's lots of places you can spend money on marketing, and they'll do all the marketing for you and get you in front of a ton of people. But then there's, on the other side, people say, I don't have any money. Well, if you don't have any money, then you better have plenty of what? Time. You better have plenty of time. So if you're saying you're not getting in front of enough people, and then you tell us you don't have enough time to do any of these things we're talking about, you're not being honest with yourself, are you? Because the only way you could possibly be so busy you don't have the time to do some of these things is what? As you're in front of so many people and closing so much business, you don't have time. If you're not in front of so many people and closing so much business, you have all the time in the world. So think about the things we've talked about today. Which ones would you like to do? I am a big believer that the only way, if you want to make a lot of money in this business, the only way you're going to do it is with event-type marketing, because it puts you in front of a bunch of highly qualified people at one shot. But what are you going to do besides that? I gave you a dozen different ways you could very inexpensively market besides that. Which one of those are you going to do? Which one of those struck your fancy? You don't need to do all of them. Grab 2. Do those. And you do them consistently. And you're going to see the more of these you add on, and see, a lot of these take some time to start up, but once they're up and running, they take no time or effort whatsoever. And that's what you should be doing in December. figuring out how am I going to get in front of people in 2013. It doesn't require a lot of money. Some of them, none of the stuff I gave you today requires a ton of money. Getting in front of them via event marketing, yeah, it requires money. Once we put you in front of them, you're going to have to pay for that, so that requires a good chunk of money. But these things I'm talking about require nothing but you just putting forth the effort to do them. Okay? So I want to leave you with ideas on how you can get in front of a ton of people next year, and not all of them require money. But if you don't have the money to spend on marketing, then you should be grabbing 5 or 6 of these to be doing them all at the same time because they cost very, very little to do. So any questions on that?
And just a reminder of our holiday schedule, Mike, do you want to
Yes.
make people aware of that? Or our office will be closed on Monday and Tuesday, the 24th and the 25th for Christmas, as well as the 31st and the 1st for New Year's. So we won't be having calls the next 2 weeks. We'll be back on schedule for our training calls on January 7th, which will be the next Monday. We'll actually talk to everyone.
So guys, I thank you for being on the call today, and I thank you for a great year for 5Q. I hope all of you have a wonderful Merry Christmas, a happy Hanukkah's already I think done, but and a wonderful New Year, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. Thanks guys for everything you do. I really appreciate all you guys, and we'll talk to you in the new year. Thanks everybody.
Mike, one more.
Oh yeah, please.
One more question just came in from Glenn. Could you remind us of who that individual was that you were talking about at the beginning of the webinar? I'd like to read the article.
Let me flip back and forth and see if you can tell me which person Glenn's thinking of here. Is it Joe Girard, Glenn?
I bet Joe Girard.
Is that who it is?
Joe Girard. No. DeWay?
Oh, DeWay. Oh, if you just go to Investment News, yeah, DeWay Financial Network. If you just Google that, you're going to find it all over. I got this out of, if you see down here, Investment News, November 19th, 2012. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday.